This is exactly what Canucks fans wanted to see, as Wednesday's preseason game versus the Calgary Flames had key moments from a trio of players that have been hyped to no end heading into this season, and they absolutely seem ready to deliver based on their performances tonight. We're going to be breaking down all that in this episode of Canucks Digest, but first, if you're not a part of the nearly 42% of viewers who are already subscribed yet and you want to stay up to date on all things Canucks, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss any of the updates when they drop. And with that, let's hop right into it, which is what we've been waiting to see. Yes, I know it's a preseason game, but just for the record, to set it all straight right away, yes, it's a preseason game, but based on what we saw tonight, this is what we have been wanting to see out of certain players. But the Canucks were able to get a preseason win against the Calgary Flames tonight in Abbotsford, where they won by a final score of 3-1, and it was 3-0 for the longest time until the Calgary got a goal to get within 2 goals. But Canucks were able to hold on, and it was a pretty boring third period for the most part. But the first 2 periods did bring some excitement as well. With looking at the lineup heading into the game as well, you had the first line being Nils Höglander, Filip Hronek, and then Michin as well. Then Baines, Sasson, and Karlsson, which was probably the best line of the entire game. Then you had Kravtsov, Ratu, and Stillman. That was a pretty solid one. Demko got the start in goal, and he showed some vintage Demko moments. There was a lot of really shutdown saves that he had, where he was flashing the glove, and as well as hitting the splits like we've seen Demko do. Hopefully didn't put too much stress on the groin or behind the knee like he's had injury scares with in the past before. But this was still a very vintage Demko game. Even though it was a preseason game, there was still some very vintage moments from him. And that is exactly what we want to see from him, is just him making those saves, getting that confidence heading into this season where, yes, it's just preseason, but him getting these preseason reps is everything. Where if you guys watch the NFL, you see a very big pitfall of a lot of injuries that happen is guys not playing in the preseason. You see that also happen in the NHL, where it is a very long season. These guys are going to be putting their bodies through a ton of abuse. So having a preseason game where they don't have to go full tilt and they can kind of ease their way into it, that goes a long way into the season. And that is a big benefit for Thatcher Demko, who has had a long history of injuries, and we want to make sure that he doesn't have any more of those this season. So you get him going to the preseason. As much as we don't want to see him play in the preseason because of his injuries, you almost need to, so that he can ramp up that production, so you're not just throwing him in there full tilt, having to go 110% right off the bat if he hasn't had that kind of warming up period. Yeah, practice is one thing, training camp is another, but preseason, where you're actually going against another team and you're feeling a bit more of a regular season type speed from some guys that, if they're second string guys, they're wanting to play their ass off for a roster spot. So he's going to be getting their best from their second string guys, but it's just going to make him have to only go maybe 75% or kind of ramp up, starting at 75, heading up to about 90. There were some saves that were looking like 100, don't get me wrong, but overall, him kind of ramping up that production hopefully gives him a lot more confidence and a lot more attrition for a very long season ahead. But still, looking at the rest of them, you had as well as a decent pairing with Elias Pettersson and Tom Willander as the top defensive pairing, which we were kind of expecting. Then you had Kudraitsev with Tyler Myers as well. But that Pettersson-Willander combo was one that we were kind of anticipating and expecting heading into this game because of the training camp reports. We know that these guys are kind of competing for that kind of 7th spot on the defensive roster. I know Pettersson kind of has it on lock, but Willander is still trying to perform his ass off for it. So him having a young line mate like DPD in there, really kind of good, and kind of love seeing that kind of dynamic start to develop. And it could be a combo that we see, maybe not this year, but the season after this year when Willander makes the team full time. That is definitely going to be a combo we're seeing. But as far as the goal scoring went in the game, Nils Höglander did kick it off with a goal in the first period on a nice rebound right in front of the net, where he just had nothing but net to shoot at, where he caught the goalie on an out of position rebound. But eventually later on in the game, he was pulled from the game. Doesn't seem like a major injury or anything like that. He didn't take a big hit or anything, but seems like something that the Canucks were maybe treating as a precaution. So as far as an update on that, hopefully we have an update on that within the next day or so, or less than that, and we're able to bring you guys an update tomorrow on how he's doing or what his timeline might look like or what exactly did happen on that play. But Nils Höglander getting a goal to get things going. That's a guy that has been relentlessly, for some reason, on the trade block. I've always been in the camp of you can live without Nils Höglander, but you can't live with him you can live with him in some senses where the Canucks can choose to take him or leave him. I'm feeling really indifferent on that regardless. Depends on what they get as an upgrade potentially in that or in a return. But overall, this was a really great game for him in getting that goal. I know that it did have an unfortunate end with him getting pulled from the game. We're going to see what happens there. But him having a bit more confidence heading into the season where he is one of those players who, whether Canucks fans want to admit it or not, does need a bounce back season because he hasn't necessarily lived up to that 3x3 contract that he was given. So he is not the only player on the Canucks in need of a bounce back year this year, on top of Elias Pettersson, on top of Thatcher Demko, on top of some other players that are needing to have a bounce back year. That is another one that you can add to the list for that. But the scoring didn't stop there as Victor Mancini got himself a very nice goal where it was set up by Linus Karlsson and Arsteve Bains, where the Calder Cup champions were able to form a nice trio for a good goal that put them up 2-0. So Victor Mancini, that is another player that heading into this year, Canucks fans, when they got him over there, they were really excited by the prospect of it. I know Mark was on here talking about how excited he has been for Victor Mancini, and a lot of reports that we hear coming out just kind of hyping him up, much like another player that we're going to talk about in a second here, where heading into this year, there's a lot of confidence that the team and the organization has in him, and a lot of reports seem very optimistic on what he can bring for this year, whether it's in Abbotsford or partially in Vancouver as well. We're going to see how many opportunities he gets, especially with that decor being just absolutely stacked right now. Could be interesting to see how many opportunities that he gets there. I don't think it's going to be as many as people are expecting, but I definitely think with him getting a goal tonight, and even though it's a preseason game, it's going to give him a lot of confidence heading into those NHL regular season opportunities where he's going to be able to shine and hopefully live up to some expectations that people have for him. And that's the biggest thing with preseason is that, yes, these games don't mean anything, but it means a lot for these players' confidence and their attrition going forward. Like I was saying with Thatcher Demko, it gives a lot of confidence for his attrition with Victor Mancini, Nils Höglander, and as well as Filip Hronek, who got the third goal of the game on a beautiful, patient power play goal. That is also something where these are three players that, and Thatcher Demko as well, where they either need a bounce back year or people are expecting a breakout year from them. And now they are having a lot of confidence after this preseason game, heading into the next preseason game and then into the regular season, where they're going to have the confidence in production, they're going to have the confidence in goal scoring, they're going to have the confidence in physicality, and they're going to have the confidence in attrition because it is going to be a long 82-game season. Thatcher Demko, hopefully he can play more than 40 games in between the pipes, and we're not going to have to rely on Lankinen more than half of the year. You want to see more than half of the games played by your 1A goalie, especially when it's a Vezina caliber goalie like Thatcher Demko. So him being healthy for over 50 games this year, I definitely think is a reasonable mark and something that he is definitely looking to hit, probably around the 60 mark if you're asking him personally. But realistically, as we Canucks fans know, with them not wanting to overuse Thatcher Demko and with how good Kevin Lankinen is and how much they're paying him, I can definitely see it being more of a 50 games and 32 games for Kevin Lankinen in favor of Thatcher Demko with 50. But let us know what you guys think about all this down in the comments below. Were you guys watching the Canucks game? Where were you guys watching from? Let us know down in the comments down below. And what are your thoughts on these three players heading into the regular season? What are your thoughts on Hronek, Mancini, and Höglander? What are your expectations for them this regular season? Let us know down in the comments down below. But that's going to do it for this episode of Canucks Digest. I've been your host, Griffen. Take care.